curious to get your take on the state of the podcast industry right now. Compared to 5 years ago, it's come an awful long way. Podcasts are clearly a part of the marketing landscape, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. And lots of companies are starting podcasts. Many of those podcasts don't last very long, if truth be told. Where do you think the podcast industry is right now, economically, both in terms of how it's being embraced by companies as a sales and marketing tool? What do you see as some of the things that you're excited about? And conversely, what do you see as the challenges for the podcast industry going forward?
The idea started like 10 years ago. And then I think we launched the actual paid plan. So we've seen a lot of that history. When I started working on this, podcasting was not a hot market or an interesting space for a venture funded company. And that also wasn't the goal in the beginning. That was fine. But as I was building it, then some events happened like Serial, This American Life, started getting millions of downloads per episode. That just ushered in a whole new wave of interest into the space when people saw, hey, you can really do something big and successful with podcasts and make an impact and make a lot of money potentially. That was one major shift that I wasn't expecting, and really just we got caught on. I wouldn't say we caught the wave. I think the wave caught us, but that was a big boon to the ecosystem. Now I think we're definitely seeing the space is maturing. I do not think it's mature. I do not think I've even seen the nearly the end of the interest in podcasting and podcast creation. We got a big bump over COVID, and some of that has tapered off, but the longer term growth trend is still pretty strong. One of the reasons why I think that there's still so much room left in this market, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I missed it. It's too late to start a podcast now," or whatever. If you look at the ratio of consumers to creators in the podcasting space versus that ratio on Twitter or that ratio on Instagram or TikTok, wildly different. I think X and TikTok have creator to consumer ratios in like the 30 to 40% or something like that. Double digit numbers. And podcasting has like well under 1% of creators to consumers. Why is that? As you already alluded to, it's a lot easier to make a tweet than it is to make a podcast. There's a lot of people just hitting those barriers to entry, even though they have an idea for a podcast, want to do it. As you mentioned, they try and they burn out because they realize how much work is involved. That's a big part of our effort from the very beginning is we need to make this totally frictionless, as easy as possible. And there's still a lot of room left. We've done a lot of that work to make it easier, but there's still a lot of room left to make it way easier. And I think AI is definitely coming in and lifting some of that weight. It's already happening in the space, the AI impact, and that's going to continue to grow.